The moment someone you love dies, you owe $11,000. Nobody warns you, nobody negotiates it, the bill just arrives. A $3,500 casket that costs $700 to make, a $900 embalming that's almost never legally required, a $2,500 basic service fee you're not allowed to decline. The funeral industry knows something you don't. You will never be a worse negotiator than the week someone you love dies. $20 billion a year is built on that moment. And the quote unquote family owned funeral home cashing the check, there's a good chance it isn't family owned at all. Every other major purchase in your life, a car, a house, a wedding, you research, you compare, you sleep on it. A funeral is the only five-figure purchase Americans routinely make under maximum emotional distress, often without seeing a single price in advance. The median cost of a funeral with viewing and burial runs around $8,300. Add a burial vault, which most cemeteries require, and you're near $10,000. That's the median. Half of families pay more. And the industry knows exactly what state of mind you're in. Internal sales training in the death care business has a name for the upsell dynamic, protecting the family's quote-unquote memory picture. Translation, would you really put mom in that cheap casket? Here's the part most people never learn. Since 1984, a federal regulation called the FTC Funeral Rule has required funeral homes to hand you an itemized price list, quote prices over the phone, and let you buy a casket anywhere you want. 40 years later, the FTC ran its first ever undercover phone sweep and caught dozens of funeral homes either refusing to give prices or quoting different prices to different callers. 39 of them got federal warning letters. The penalty for violating the rule is up to $51,744 per violation. The rule exists because the abuse is that predictable, and it's still happening. Just last week, New York State issued a consumer alert warning families about funeral pricing games and pressure tactics. A mid-range steel casket leaves the manufacturer at roughly $600 to $800. By the time it's sitting in the funeral home showroom under soft lighting, it's priced at $2,500 to $4,000. That's a markup of 300 to 500% on a box that will be seen for a few hours and then buried forever. And the showroom itself is engineered. The cheapest caskets are often kept out of the display room entirely or shown in unflattering colors. The funeral rule actually requires homes to show you a written casket price list before you see the caskets, because regulators figured out that once you're standing in the room, the sales psychology takes over. Then come the line items, embalming around $800 to $900, and here's the thing, no state requires embalming for a typical burial within a few days. The FTC explicitly says funeral homes can't tell you it's legally required when it isn't. On that undercover sweep, one funeral home told federal investigators on a recorded line that remains had to be embalmed. That's not true. Basic service fees. The non-declinable charge, often $2,000 to $3,000, covers being a funeral home. Paperwork, overhead, you can't opt out of it. It's the resort fee of death. Add the viewing fee, the hearse, the transfer of remains, the flowers, the printed programs, the obituary placement fee. Yes, that's often marked up too. And an $800 box becomes a five-figure goodbye. Now here's the twist this story actually turns on. That family-owned funeral home in your town, the one with the founder's name on the sign, that one that buried your grandparents, there's a decent chance it's not family-owned at all. Meet Service Corporation International, SCI, publicly traded. Houston, Texas, the largest death care company in North America. Roughly $4.2 billion in annual revenue, well over 1,000 funeral homes and hundreds of cemeteries. When SCI buys a local funeral home, they usually keep the original family name on the sign. The brand you trust stays. The prices, the corporate playbook, the shareholder obligations, those change. This is called roll-up consolidation, and it's the same playbook we've seen in veterinary clinics, dental offices, and hospice care. In just one recent year, SCI spent over $100 million acquiring 22 more funeral homes and cemeteries, and returned $645 million to shareholders in dividends and buybacks. Think about that, the money flowing out of grieving families' checkbooks through a sign that says family owned into quarterly earnings calls. On those calls, executives don't talk about families, they talk about average revenue per service, a metric they've grown year after year, even as the number of funerals declines. Translation, fewer customers, each one paying more. There's even a term in their filings for selling you a funeral before anyone dies. Pre-need, prepaid funeral contracts. A multi-billion-dollar flow of customer money collected years or decades before the service is delivered. SCI's pre-need sales grew 11% in a single quarter. The death business found a way to get paid before death. So what's the defense? 4 things and they're all free. 1, ask for the general price list. Federal law says they have to give it to you, in writing, before you commit to anything. If they hesitate, walk. 2, get phone quotes. They must give prices over the phone and you don't have to give your name. Call 3 funeral homes. Prices for the identical service can vary by thousands of dollars in the same zip code. 3, buy the casket elsewhere. Costco, Amazon, independent dealers, the funeral home cannot refuse it and cannot charge you a handling fee. That one phone call can save $2,000. 4, decline what you don't want. Embalming, the premium vault, the memory package. Itemized means optional. None of this is haggling. It's just exercising rights that have existed since 1984. Rights the industry is betting you've never heard of. The funeral industry isn't evil because it charges money for a service. It's a business. The problem is a business model that depends on customers who are grieving, rushed, and uninformed, and a corporate consolidation wave that's quietly replacing the trusted local undertaker with a shareholder spreadsheet. $11,000, 48 hours, zero comparison shopping. If this saved you or someone you love a few $1,000s someday, that's the whole point of this channel. Subscribe for more hidden money stories.